So a few weeks ago I stumbled upon this quest after, hunting these bunnies. But it really goes to show part of what I love about this game, the way that, you can approach a quest from multiple angles. I just kind of stumbled upon an area that led to a quest, so I'll just let you see what happens here after I pick these flowers, of course. Yeah, and here I actually turn off the HUD, and it's something that I've been doing ever since this. If you watch any of my other videos, play without the HUD, usually. Because there's a lot of beautiful views in this game. It's just so much more immersive to actually be in the game like this. It does make trying to find places a little more difficult, but I find myself just going back to the map, and that can be its own kind of little role play. So here, just climb that fence and I approach this tower, and I think that's something that I've learned to do in this game, is just to look for landmarks like this in the actual world without looking at the map. Makes it a lot more organic, and trying to kill some deer, of course. That's the other thing, always trying to get food, especially on the higher difficulties. So here, run into some bandits. They're guarding this tower or something. So another benefit of exploring is getting all this nice loot that I would otherwise have to buy. So it just gives you an actual reward for going out and exploring a bit. And it's something you need to do early, because usually this stuff will be lower level. And that's a problem the game has sometimes with the open world, that you get all these equipment that are not exactly your level. And down here I stumbled upon a body, just out of the blue.
Ghouls dragged the body downstairs, but it wasn't their kill. Skin's unnaturally pale, cracked. Ought to explore the tower.
And here I thought this body was going to tell me something, but nothing in the game acknowledges it, but I do, which I found pretty interesting. Kind of like the extra stuff that doesn't get acknowledged in the quest logs or anything like that, but kind of adds to the overall story of this tower and the quest itself, which we'll find out a little bit more later. Cat school, feline sword, which I hadn't really been following, but a lot of things just kind of intersect each other. Places will have multiple stories going on, and because these multiple stories all converge in one location, it makes the world more alive. And I think adding to that is the HUD, having that off and actually having to pay attention to where you're going. Really take in clues about the world, tracks, trails.
Panic.
And the game does do a good job of pointing out areas to you if you're paying attention. It'll have spaces that are open. You can kind of tell when there is going to be a place of interest.
Dried blood. Really old. The singeing, on the other hand, is fresh. Unnatural. Medallion vibrates near it.
And you see the controller actually does shake when you're close to clues like that. It's really interesting. And you actually kind of know when to use your Witcher senses because of that.
Hard-headed men.
These commentaries are pretty interesting too, having Geralt talk out loud like that.
Moonwraith did this. Pale skin, but no blood loss. This is no vampire. All signs point to a Moonwraith. She's avoiding me. Gotta find something that belonged to her. She'll have to show then. Maybe there's a reward for her.
See, that's interesting because we already had an encounter at White Orchard with a Moonwraith, the devil by the well. And so all this kind of builds on your past experience. You know what to expect because you've done it before. And that kind of builds your role as a Witcher because you're using these different strategies and reading the landscape and kind of you know where certain monsters and people will be, so adjust your strategies in that way. And you kind of do become a Witcher because you have all this knowledge of how to prepare for different fights. And the game really shines in that aspect.
Greetings, Witcher.
Hear about the White Lady.
As I hoped. I notice it's been hanging so long, sun's near bleached it blank.
Seems your White Lady's a Moonwraith.
That means... Gods, poor Lucy.
Lucy. She was gonna marry, right?
Yeah. Her parents swore her to a smith from the city. Well-to-do, sure, but older and more brittle than elven ruins. Lucy ran from the altar out into the fields, where she slashed her veins. Used the silver dagger she'd gotten for the betrothal. Wait, let me show you. Lucy's parents couldn't bear to sell it, bury it even. They left it in my care.
I want to send her away, but I've got to bring her close, lure her first. I need an object that belonged to her. Dagger would be perfect.
Take it, but kill Lucy. Promise me. She shouldn't suffer no more.
And here you see me resting till noon because obviously what I've learned in the past is that Moonwraiths only come out at noon. It's really in their name. So the ritual's done. And really what happens is it builds off your past experience with Moonwraiths. They're really tragic creatures. And the music really brings that out. And just the entire depiction of her.
Let's dance.
You as a player kind of come in
Come on.
with that past experience. It just makes the fight a little more meaningful in that way. Because of the past experiences you had with these monsters. And here throughout my various runnings, I learned that Mirrodin really helps against these guys. And you can read it too, but knowing and understanding is completely different. It's actually face these things. You really adapt the strategies of the Witcher. And here I know what's happening. It's going to split up into different versions of herself, so I have to try and kill them as quickly as possible. I do make quick work. I make sure to cast another Mirrodin to prepare and draw her in towards where I want to fight. I dictate the terms of the battle. I'm still having a tough time with her. If I'd really known what to do, I would have switched into a potion of golden oil to kind of offset the poison she does, but at this point I didn't really get into the potions that much. I know what the signs do. And here again, she splits. So I know the strategies. I've had these past experience, and I think that's the best way to go into this game. Kind of just learning on your own, and also learning from past experiences with past Witcher games. You kind of build off that knowledge. Quen helps a lot to offset any attacks. And that shield that I build up regenerates health on each hit. Looks like the last instance of her multiplicitousness. Deer in the background is chilling while I fight a monster. It isn't really a monster, it's just the victim of some tragic circumstances. So there you go, and collect some loot. And I mean, that's what I mean. The landscape plays into the monsters because they're tied to different events and different locations, and while each monster can be a copy of another, there are special instances where you get named creatures who are kind of beings of local legend. And there's special instances of creatures you've already faced, just with deeper backstory. Kind of like this one. People have relationships to these monsters. They used to be human, but come out cursed.
Greetings, Witcher.
Problem solved. You can go back to your fields.
Thank you. Your coin. And may fortune smile upon you.
And that's it. Just one instance of how the quest can turn out. So thank you for watching.